And now it's Boomer Life.
Lifestyle ideas designed to make your life more engaging, meaningful, and complete.
Celebrating the baby boomer generation, this is Boomer Life
With Sterling Fox.
Well, hello, and welcome to Boomer Life here on AM 650. Glad to have you with us, and this program is going to be about your health and how the folks at Integrative Naturopathic Medical Center in Vancouver can contribute to, the improving quality of life for us all. In studio with us, one of the founders of Integrative Naturopathic Medical Center, Dr. Larry Chan, is back. Good day.
Thanks for having me.
It's nice to see you again, and we are joined in studio as well by Dr. Alex Chan. Nice to see you again as well.
Yeah, nice to see you too.
Now, Larry, you and two colleagues whom we've met in previous episodes here at Boomer Life formed Integrative, in those days, Healing Arts. Back when? What was the beginning year?
Eric Posen and another partner, Hal Brown, formed in 1982.
Okay.
Integrative Healing Arts, and we started back then as chiropractors and evolved to naturopaths and added Chinese medicine and acupuncture as part of our equation.
Now, has the location always been at 1285 West Broadway, or was there a smaller initial location?
We were about 5 blocks east of that location for 20 years.
Oh, okay.
So we're here now for the last almost 10 years now.
10 years.
And what's the staff size these days?
Well, I went from a small operation of maybe a half dozen to now about...
We have almost 30 people in the
Is
the
that
office
right?
now. Yep.
30 and how many of those are medical practitioners?
So we have 5 naturopathic doctors, the 3 partners, and then myself and Dr. Katie Leah.
Uh-huh.
And then we also have on-site a nutritionist, a Chinese medicine doctor, traditional Chinese medicine, a chiropractor, 2 massage therapists, one who specializes in rolfing, and I believe that's it as far as the practitioners.
We have a medical doctor comes in and does some of these.
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay. What is a naturopathic medical doctor, Dr. Alex Chan?
So naturopathic medical doctor, we go through the same sort of 4 years of pre-med that you would expect for conventional training, and then we have a 4-year naturopathic medical degree, which is a doctorate degree, and it's 4 years as well, standardized throughout Canada and the U.S. as far as board exams and that type of thing.
Sure.
So in BC, we're recognized as primary care practitioners as well, so we can do and order a lot of the same lab testing. We can have prescriptive rights here, so we can prescribe medications. But primarily, I would say where we differ is that we focus, and our goal is to really look at someone as a whole person, treat sort of the cause of their illness, and really get down to a lot of prevention. And the nice thing is, working somewhat outside of the medical system, we have a lot more time and ability to do that. You know, our visit doesn't have to be 5 minutes long.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
We kind of get to call our own shots on how long that visit is.
Right. Dr. Larry, is it safe to say that naturopathic medicine, as Alex has just described it, is in its intrinsic nature preventative, whereas the sort of Western medicine that we grow up with and are more accustomed with in Canada it's reactive. You go to the doctor because something's wrong, and you get a pill or a prescription or something, and you go away. Whereas a naturopathic approach would be, well, there's this might be wrong, but there's probably more to it than something a pill can fix. The pill will take care of the symptoms, but we'll see in a few weeks.
Yeah, you always want to go back and look at the cause. What is the cause?
Exactly.
What's the whole person telling you?
So is that a fair comparison, reactive versus preventative?
Yes, very much.
Okay.
And so really it's about what is this person presenting to you at that stage. It's not just an illness they're presenting with or a symptom, but what's the whole person telling you? And so some of our skills are attuned to finding the underlying things, underlying cause of illness, lifestyle, how does that interplay with their health overall? How does it interplay with that particular presenting complaint?
Okay.
So that's really important that we look at the whole body and how we relate to that. And part of that is the triad of health.
I was just going to ask you, there's something called the triad of health, which is very much at play, Alex, at the Integrative Naturopathic Medical Center. What does that mean?
Yeah, well, I think foremostly, the triad of health is really looking at how our physical body, so the physical and structure, interplays with the biochemical internal workings of the body and our energetic or mental emotional sphere. So those 3 parts really make up a person. And as naturopathic doctors, we really believe that there's a innate healing power of nature, so that the body, if given the right tools to succeed, can self-heal.
Right. Okay.
And so really it's about integrating and looking at how the biochemistry, the physical body, and the mental emotional sphere are working together to set someone up for health or set them up for disease.
Well, even the toughest, most old school, old guard Canadian Western medicine doc will tell you that if you're sick, a positive mental attitude will go a long way to your improved health, and in fact, you're getting better.
Absolutely.
So even that, if they recognize that, even if their education and their training and their practice doesn't allow them to do much more other than say, well, stay positive now and take these pills.
Well, very much so, because we went from purely the whole scientific idea that, every disease is caused by one particular factor. Whether it's a bug, a virus, or a bacteria.
Sure.
It's not that simple. It's an interplay with everything in your body. If you are exposed to a virus, why do some people get sick and some people don't? It's because what is your internal milieu or your internal immune system doing, and how does it react to that bug that's in front of you?
Okay.
So that's a big part of the puzzle, is that how is our body's health overall interacting with that negative and noxious environment. So that's the key.
So even though the triad of health is practiced on a daily basis very actively at Integrative, Alex, it exists elsewhere in the medical community, even if they're not too upfront about it. It does, but it's not as acknowledged and as upfront as it might be in a naturopathic environment.
Definitely, and I think part of that comes down to this idea that we tend to see that conventional medicine is more reactionary.
Sure.
So it's really, you have this one complaint, we give you something to treat it because that's the problem, and then it goes away, right? And whether that's a fault of the system, that there's not more time available to a lot of conventional doctors to really get into a lot of, well, what was the lifestyle that set you up for this? Where is this coming from? Really, through no fault of their own, they can't really do that in 5 to 7 minutes, nor is that necessarily their job.
Right.
And if you look at it, I think it's shocking to me that people are told to service their cars 2 to 4 times a year.
Right.
And they bring in their car and, something happens under the hood and they're told, oh, these are the things that are going wrong. This is where we fine-tuned it.
Right.
And then you're good to go.
Right.
I would say that most people hardly get themselves to a physician of any sort once a year.
Right.
And that's an interesting paradigm. You'll take your car in 4 times a year, every quarter, but your own body, you're not willing to take in to just see what's going on. Not if there's necessarily, because there's not necessarily always a problem going on with your car that causes you to take it in for servicing.
That's true. Yeah, you lube, oil, and filter, because it's 5,000 kilometers, and there's nothing wrong with it.
Exactly.
But it's time,
you're
so
not
get it
noticing,
done.
Yeah. Versus, how often do you think, it's time for me to go in for my lube, oil, and filter?
Yeah, right.
You go in and someone checks it out and says, maybe we could work on these things. Oh, your sleep hasn't been as good lately?
Right.
What can we do about that? Because leave that person 6 months, a year under chronic stress, poor sleep, and then you might start seeing an actual problem manifesting.
Right.
But if we can get to it before it gets there, why not?
A typical would be a patient coming in saying to a standard medical doctor with that reactive mentality is that, gee, doc, I'm feeling really tired and listless these days.
Right.
Well, doctor says, well, let's run some tests. No, tests look fine. You look fine. Go away.
Tests would be blood tests, usually
whatever.
off to the lab.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
right.
Go away. Can you come back 6 months later? The same person comes back and says, I'm feeling worse. What's going on? So more blood tests.
And the results are the same.
You're still fine. So a year later, the patient comes back and says, I can barely get out of bed now, doc. Doctor does a test. Yes, we can see it now. It's your blood's off here. It's because
thyroid.
Right.
Well,
this has been going on for over a year.
Yeah, exactly. It's reading the cues of what's causing that.
Right.
And then that's one thing that we spend a lot of our effort into doing. What is causing that problem at the early onset? Because if we can get it early, we can do something about it.
Right. What do you think it is, Alex? I mean, we're real good about our cars. We get up every morning and we brush our teeth. We're good about some of these personal habits, but when it comes to our health, that annual checkup, that it's very elusive in a lot of our lives. Could it be, in some cases, that we don't really want to know if there's a problem?
I think so. And I think that part of it is that somehow it's looked at in your culture, not that you're taking care of yourself, but that like you should keep that stiff upper lip,
Right.
especially amongst men. You got to keep that stiff upper lip and suck it up, because you can get through it, and if you notice little things going on, not a big deal, right?
Right.
And really, it's not really this idea that there's fine tuning that can be done, right? And that a lot of times those problems aren't just going to go away. So I think that it's a combination of kind of that we might not want to know if something is going on, but then also that we're almost ingrained that it's not worth anyone looking into that problem.
Well, I've had a person tell me this, because I do an annual checkup. Like it or not, I have a Dr. Larry in my life too. He's a good guy, and he's used to seeing me once a year, and I'm lucky. I don't have many issues. But I actually had a friend, go to the doctor, arrange for an annual checkup. Off he goes, and so he sits down in the doctor's office. The clock is ticking, and so the doctor says, "How you doing?" He said, "Well, I'm just fine, thank you. I'm here for my annual checkup." The doctor says, "Any problems?" "None at all. I feel great. In fact, I haven't felt this good in years." "Then why are you wasting my time?"
Yeah.
Point blank, in the doctor. Why are you wasting? Because you're my doctor, and it's time for my annual checkup. How will that do? And the guy got bent out of shape. Good grief, Larry.
I think that it's not really their area of focus or specialty, because it's much more a reactionary system. And so for us, then that's where we start going into that full history. I have the luxury right now. I spend 45 to an hour with a new patient. That means that I get to know all about their digestive habits, their sleep, the stress, their job, and really within that conversation, most people have something that's bugging them.
And it's not about indulging hypochondriacs either,
not at
is
all.
it?
Well, getting back to what you just said about your friend, is that here's a doctor that made the person feel like they're wasting their time.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is. Now you're saying the only reason why you should come to see me is if you're near death's door, or you're really sick.
Right.
So people have that feeling, I have to be really sick, because otherwise it's not important to go see the doctor.
Right. Why should you be made to feel bad about a checkup? Good grief.
We talked earlier, before about cancer and all these horrible degenerative diseases.
Right.
It happens over a lifetime.
Sure.
So if you leave things till the very end, you're sick already. You got to catch it early. So therefore, you're doing the right thing, seeing your doctor every year for a checkup, whether you feel good or not.
Right.
It's a good thing to do, because you want to catch problems before they happen.
And there's things like high blood sugar, high blood pressure.
Right.
Those aren't things that people feel usually.
That's true.
Those are things that are pretty silent, but really common. And before you ever reach that threshold, because that's the thing, the cutoff, I think, of acuity is very different between naturopathic doctors and conventional doctors.
Okay.
Sort of where we look at we're working in a much tighter range of sort of health optimization than, not that we can definitely be of service to people who have much more chronic illnesses as well. But ideally, we can work in that preventative realm before things have really gotten out of hand. And so it's dealing with that person who's feeling really stressed and fatigued for a year before anything shows up on their lab work.
Yes.
That there's things that we can do to address and help them in that phase. It's almost like it takes a while before those pathological changes happen. The functional changes happen long before.
Exactly. Dr. Larry, you've been around, you and your two colleagues who started this Integrative Naturopathic Medical Center, you've been around long enough that when you started out, you were kind of, alternative was the big adjective in those days, and you were kind of hippy-dippy and out there somewhere. And how has that changed? How has your relationship, and how are you viewed by the conventional medical community now versus those early days 30 years ago?
I can probably only speak from a West Coast Canadian perspective, and maybe a little bit of across Canada. It has gotten better, for sure. Because, even our name, Integrative Healing Arts, and now Integrative Naturopathic Medical Center, is that we were one of the very first to use the word integrative.
Right.
And now, if you look through the phone book or the website, you'll see many centers call themselves integrative as well.
Both MD and ND centers.
A lot of medical centers would call themselves that as well, because they recognize the fact that it's got to be a bigger picture than just disease or crisis management. And so I think it's gotten better, for sure. And
so you get to now say, basically, we were just 30 years ahead of our time.
I think
Vancouver's finally catching up to us.
Which is great. We can say that. But the bottom line is that we would like good medicine no matter who practices it.
Sure.
Whether you're a medical doctor or a naturopath or a chiropractor or a Chinese doctor, if you practice good medicine with a bigger view of the body from a healing standpoint, all the power to you. And we'd like to have that as our norm in our society.
Our guests in studio are from the Integrative Naturopathic Medical Center here in Vancouver at 1285 West Broadway and online at integrative.ca. Back with lots more here on Boomer Life after this.
Canada's only weekly radio show dedicated to the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life
on AM